So everything in this video is now going to be out of date.
Yes, because they did redesign Sonic, but fuck it, I spent time researching and writing the article. We're going to make a video about it. So prior to the quite dramatic redesign of the character, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie was shaping up to be a turd of monstrous proportions. One of the key reasons for this was the design of the titular blue hedgehog, which drew a lot of ire from fans and critics alike. A design that the people behind the movie, up until very recently, insisted had to be a weird fur monster.
So, Sonic has been redesigned now.
Again, yeah. So the redesign for the movie has been walked back. So Sonic now looks like more akin to what he does in his original games. But for people watching at home who somehow missed the amalgamation of children's fears that was the original interpretation of Sonic the Hedgehog, for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, here he is. And Nisha, everyone has a particular moment in that original trailer that they point to and just go, because I think that's the reaction everyone had, isn't it? Because it's just so weird. And what's yours?
It's that one. It's probably the image behind you.
Is it it's the teeth?
It is the teeth.
The teeth. The fact that Sonic has human teeth. And we're now going to, show that trailer again and just zoom in right in on the teeth editor. Because and the teeth for me were a big sticking point. But do you know what really got me about his design? It's his hands. So I think in the redesign he now has gloves.
Yeah, because when they meant to look, they looked like actual hands,
human hands,
right.
But the hands were furry. Not just furry on the back of his hands, furry on the palm of his hands. Ugh. And his face was also furry, which means he had furry lips. And this is what got me. It wasn't the fact that he had the teeth were bad, but the fact he has furry lips. And just for a moment, Nisha, imagine just having fur here and fur here, and then just imagine Sonic eating an apple, and he's got juice all around these furry lips. And exactly, that's what got me. So the teeth are bad, but for me it was just the fur on every. Yeah, and the fact he doesn't have fingernails. He has fur on his instead of fingernails, I think. And your reaction is almost exactly what mine was when I looked at the design and went, "Why has he got furry palms?" So just imagine for really fur. Imagine shaking his hand. Imagine shaking someone's hand. And they've got fur on the palm of their hands, and you grasp it, and then they do that thing when they wet issue, and they go, ugh.
Oh, so I think, because obviously his body as well looked human-like.
His proportions are really weird.
And the only thing he was wearing was shoes, so he looked naked, furry, and just wearing shoes.
He looked like a small child wearing a Sonic costume. I think there'll be a picture here, showcasing, I think the bit where all the missiles are going to hit him, and he doesn't look like a Sonic the Hedgehog. He looks like a weird fur baby. He looks like I don't even think furries like the redesign. That's how bad it was. Furries didn't like this design of Sonic, and they fucking love everything about Sonic. And I think nothing sums up how universally disliked this reimagining was than the fact that furries didn't like it. And just for the sake of reference, there will now be an image of Sonic from the games he hails from behind me. Hopefully not over the one of the teeth, because the teeth are staying. Whoever edits this, that image never fucking leaves the screen. If you put another image up, it's not going over the top of that one, because people need to know.
Covers everything but the teeth.
Yeah, do that. Cover everything but the teeth. Confront the teeth, folks. That's what it does, right? And I'm presuming as well there will now be the redesign of Sonic as well behind me to show it's closer to the original games.
But it confuses me, because surely they've got an image of what Sonic looks like, and they use that as a reference to create.
That's what a lot of fans did. Where I think there was a lot of fan edits, which we discussed in another video. I think the day the trailer came out, there were fan edits of Tooth Sonic, showing that here's what he'd look like if he actually looked like Sonic, and they looked a million times better.
It's a bit like, when The Lion King came out, people were doing redesigns of the characters to make look more like the old original Disney film.
I watched the live action Lion King recently on a plane. No part of it jumped out at me. I was like, it's just so dull.
So just too realistic.
There's no colour. The reason that The Lion King worked is because it added characterisation to things you didn't know could have it. And that's why things like Beauty and the Beast work as a cartoon. Yeah. Because you can add characterisation and personality and emotion to inanimate objects, like a teapot. But it doesn't work live action because it's a fucking teapot. What's he going to do?
Yeah, I didn't mind the Beauty and the Beast film that much. I think the Beast looked a bit odd.
Yeah, I think Lion King is the one where it looks the worst because it just looks like a nature documentary.
Yeah.
And I still think to this day, one of my favourite things that people do is on clips and trailers for the Lion King, live action one. I can't believe they train real lions to do this, just so people in the comments get angry. It's not a real lion, it's all CGI, as if they're pointing out something people don't already know. It's just so good. Look out for it if you ever see a clip of that film. People always come and go like, wow, I can't believe they got real lions to do this. And then you'll get some person who thinks the person's being serious correcting them. And it's so great. Anyway, let's move on.
Right, so when the first design of Sonic came out in the original trailer,
yes,
you mentioned there was a lot of negativity.
It was universally negative. I think one of my favourite quotes about it, I think it was like CNET or Ars Technica just said, the Sonic trailer is a blight upon this weary earth. It's like it makes us actively wish for death. And
wow.
There's an idea of how disliked this reimagining of Sonic was. Yuji Naka, the guy who created the character of Sonic, in seeming response to the trailer being released, tweeted cryptically, "Is this the Sonic movie?"
Oh, wow.
And when the guy who created Sonic doesn't recognise your reimagining of the character as the character he invented, you done fucked up.
It's like, you know you've done bad.
It's like, he doesn't look like him at all. Like, teeth. There's so many. He doesn't wear gloves. The design would have been passable if he just wore gloves. Like, Disney realised this a century ago with Mickey Mouse. It's like, give them gloves, because if you give an anthropomorphic animal human hands, it's creepy and weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Just give him a fucking gloves. Like, that's why he has exaggerated features, because if he looks like a human, it's weird and it's off-putting and it's not very fun to look at.
Well, surely when they're redesigning, a character from Sega, they should show Sega, the actual character.
Especially one as iconic and as important to Sega's brand as Sonic the fucking Hedgehog. But apparently they didn't. And I think Sega released a statement after that trailer came out saying, we had nothing to do with this, which to me doesn't give me much faith in the project. And that to me is baffling, because I cannot fathom why Sega would let someone do that to their most important and valuable piece of intellectual property. Yeah. So bear in mind, like Wreck-It Ralph, where Sonic appears very briefly, like looking pretty much as he does in the games. Sega, in addition to every other company who had a character who appeared in that movie, sat in on production meetings and things like that to dictate what Sonic should look like and what he should do.
So why didn't they do that for a whole movie about him?
I think in regards to Wreck-It Ralph, I think Nintendo went as far to tell the makers of Wreck-It Ralph how Bowser would drink coffee.
Yeah.
Because when they got sent, obviously everything they did involving characters they didn't own, they had to get approval of. And the story goes that they sent over, the anonymous bad guys meeting to all the companies who had characters in that scene for approval and notes. And Nintendo just sent back a single, line response saying, that's not how Bowser drinks coffee. And then they had to figure out, how does King Koopa drink his fucking coffee?
It just seems so crazy that they pick out how a character drinks coffee.
But it highlights how pedantic companies usually are when it comes to how you utilise, their intellectual property. But apparently that wasn't the case for Sega, because they had to release a statement saying, we had nothing to do with this shit, despite the fact their branding was all over it.
So did they even know the film was being made?
They did, yes. And obviously Sega is involved, but they were more hands-off than they probably should have been, given what we got. But according to the executive producer of the film, Tim Miller, Sega did sign off on everything to do with the design of Sonic, albeit begrudgingly. And according to him, a huge point of contention between the design team, him and Sega was Sonic's eyes, or if you go by his original design of the games, eye.
So if you think about it, the original design probably wouldn't translate well to a live action version because of the one eye, which would be quite creepy. Yeah,
not as creepy as the teeth, admittedly. And what we're going to do now is on top of the teeth, just put the big Sonic eye so people can see that his eye is connected in the middle. Mm. And that would presumably look horrifying, realised in the same kind of art style as, the new reimagining of Sonic. And I can understand why they didn't want to, include that facet of the character. But fans of Sonic figured out a way to make it work the day the trailer was released. Don't give him one big connected eye, just give him big, giant eyes with, an exaggerated brow line, to be reminiscent of his original design. But no, they thought, fuck it, just give him these tiny little beady eyes to make him like some sort of weird weasel creature with human teeth. And this was apparently such a sticking point for Sega that it's one of the rumoured reasons why the original teaser poster for Sonic, this one right here, just showed the character in silhouette, so you couldn't see his eyes.
Yeah.
Because apparently at the time they were still arguing about what his eyes should look like with Sega, and apparently what they came up with was this. That was apparently what Sega signed off on, and that cracks me up so much. But the teaser poster itself was bad in its own way because Sonic has like the weirdly muscular legs, which was apparently something that the designer said, well, he's got to be a real creature.
So surely when making this design, they should have known how bad it was.
Apparently not, no, because even after the trailer was released, and it was universally mocked and reviled by fans and critics online, Tim Miller doubled down on it, like saying that Sonic had to be a weird fur monster, because if he wasn't furry and looked the way he did, he wouldn't be believable as a character in a live-action setting. And again, I like to counter this by just motioning towards the teeth.
Yeah, because that design they come up with is so believable.
Think about that for a moment. Like, some guy looked at that and went, this is fine for a kid's movie. It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh man, did you see the edit someone did where like Sonic's eyes are just the mouth and the mouth's the eye?
I don't know if I have,
and he's
but
got
I feel
two
like
thighs.
I need to see this.
No,
now.
we don't. That's going to be behind me as well, don't worry about it. Two thighs. But just like, I would just love to be a fly on the wall before he went for like, that day of press like meetings. And he's sat there looking at a giant blown up photo of like Tooth Sonic going, this is good. This is great. This is fine. It doesn't matter that the creator of Sonic himself has shit on it and that Sega fought me at every turn. This is my Sonic. This is the Sonic I want.
Just like imagining on one side is the original design.
We've got that behind us.
And then the new one, and they're just like...
Yeah, this is it. This is the one.
Right.
This is the fucking winner right here. Like, my favourite bit about it, though, is that people online are calling the makers of the Sonic movie cowards and say, no, release the Snyder cut. Like, release the ugly cut of Sonic. Release the objectively worst version of the movie because we want to suffer. This is what Sonic fans deserve.
So, yeah, you mentioned earlier that the creators of, the horrible Sonic thought
I saw you then just like struggling to think of what to call him. And you said, horrible Sonic. That's the one. What else would you call? I call it Tooth Sonic. Because it's the teeth.
The toothy.
Teeth. Look at the teeth. Look at the teeth and then imagine just furry fingers rattling on the teeth.
Oh, no.
Imagine it, folks. That's the Sonic we deserve. Release the ugly cut. Anyway, you were saying...
Yeah, you mentioned that they thought the original design...
Yes, the one that they have now tried to capture in the redesign of this shit version.
You mentioned it wouldn't look right in the real world.
Well, yeah, that's what Tim Miller said. Like, his justification for why we got this horrible abomination was that the original design of Sonic, if we try to translate that to a live-action setting, wouldn't look right and it wouldn't fit with the world we've created. And I'd like to counter that with this shot from the original trailer of just Sonic sat in the car, because that one to me is the funniest shot in the trailer. So just highlight and just pick out and showcase on its own. Because he just looks like he's been dragged and dropped into it. Yeah. He doesn't look like he fits or belongs in that scene at all. Which becomes even more hilarious when you realise the reason he looks like that is because the executive producer of the movie and all the people involved with it were like, nah, he has to look like this, because otherwise he wouldn't fit. And he doesn't look like he belongs anyway.
It doesn't fit anyway.
Do you want to make Christ even more? The plot of the movie is that he comes from another dimension, so he doesn't even belong in that world anyway, so he can look like fucking anything. He can look like he doesn't belong in the world, because he's not from that world, and that's the plot of the movie you're making. It's so baffling. It's just so good. And I think it's really funny as well, because it's been pointed out that James Marsden, the guy who's acting opposite Sonic, appeared in a movie called Hop or something like that, where he's also in a CGI live-action crossover movie with an anthropomorphic animal character. And there's even an almost identical scene where he's driving down the road and someone just put both shots together of the most typecast man in history of him just riding in a car with a CGI character.
That's his characters from now on.
Oh man, he was Cyclops for a bit.
Yeah,
he was Cyclops. Yeah. And then he got wrote out of X-Men 3 because he wanted to go be in Superman Returns, where Superman steals his girlfriend. I feel so bad for James Marsden as an actor that his two biggest roles involve a superhero stealing his girl. It's like, what an oddly specific thing to happen to the same man twice.
Poor guy.
Anyway, so to get it back to Sonic the Hedgehog, I guess the actual stated reason why we got this in the original trailer was because the people making the movie thought that it would make Sonic fit better in the world they created. And Nisha, while I was talking, I believe you grabbed a prop from my shelf, didn't you, to showcase the next point we're going to make?
Yep.
And what is that prop?
Space Jam on VHS.
Of course it's on VHS, so I've got it on VHS. It's also got it's got a green case, so woo! It's like...
invisible.
Perfect, yeah, anyway. Well, Space Jam on VHS, and the reason I'm having this is because think for a moment about the statement, we couldn't realise, the cartoonish original version of Sonic in a live-action setting because that just wouldn't work or be believable. When Space Jam, the movie, exists, which showed that you can absolutely 100% have live-action actors act alongside completely fictional, made-up cartoon characters.
It's like same with, I think, is it Roger? Who
Framed Roger Rabbit, which is an amazing fucking movie. And we live in a world where those two movies exist, and the people who made Sonic, the movie, originally thought, rather than make Sonic look like Sonic, let's make him look like fucking this, and that'll be fine. Anyway, the movie's still going to be shit, but at least Sonic looks like Sonic now. So I'm still holding Space Jam on VHS, and people might be wondering, like, Karl, why do you have Space Jam on VHS? And it's because something I like to do is collect things, but specifically very weird things. Like, you've been to my house before, haven't you? Mm-hmm. Where I have like an eclectic collection of things that I call my conversation pieces.
So you like to have like talking points.
Yeah.
Like someone will point at something like, "Oh, what's that?" And then you can
and there's usually a story behind it. And I think one of the things I do in my house is I don't have coasters. I have a collection of old like games for various consoles and CDs that are really weird or obscure. I think I've got like John Cena's Word Life DVD and shit. So that's the kind of like weird thing I have as a conversation starter. So in that vein, what's like any weird things that you own or like collectibles that you have that people might think is a bit strange like to own?
Well, I've got my Spyro onesie that I really like whipping out every now and then.
You wear that all the time.
All the time.
You own a Spyro onesie. It's like, I know you love Spyro, don't you? But so I've never gone to the level of owning a onesie because my flat's really small and I can't justify taking up that much space in my cupboard. But I do have like a lot of weird t-shirts and knickknacks that I buy abroad. I think recently I went to America and the thing I brought back was, I think it's on that shelf actually, was a PlayStation 1 game for $1. And it's like a mahjong game. And I don't know what the game is, but we use it as a coaster when we stream. And again, it's one of those things where people look and go, this is really weird, where'd you get this from? And then there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Or the poster you can see on the wall behind you, like the One Punch Man poster.
Yeah. Which
is like, I got from like Anime Expo. It's like, I've got a lot of weird things. I like the idea of like visual reminders of trips that I've taken that aren't just photographs.
Yeah.
Because photographs, like as fun as they are to like, have on display, I much prefer all the dumb shit I've got. Like my sand from the Abu Dhabi desert, which I've got in a bottle, which just has the word Big Dick G written on it, which was carved into the bottle for me by an ancient man who did not speak a lick of English.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
That's a cool thing to do. It cost me I think the equivalent of £10.
Yeah.
And that's a great fucking, people walking go, what the fuck have you got that for? So that is sand from the Abu Dhabi desert, mate. And it says Big Dick G on it, and no one else in the world owns that. I'm the only one in the world, and I like that idea. It's the same thing like my stamp from China, which also says Big Dick G on it. Which again, an ancient Chinese man carved into like this jade like thing that you use to like stamp letters that says Big Dick G, and I use it to sign Christmas cards.
That's amazing. The only thing I get from if I go abroad is usually like these sort of bracelets, like the stone like bracelets you get. And then I just say, I got that from like Lanzarote, I got that from Tenerife, sort of thing.
That's happened when I went to China, because like my friend, we went to a temple, and he got some like beads made by the monks.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's made like my birthstone, and it can it can represent my trip over here. What do you get? Big Dick G and a pair of fake Ray Bans. Hell yeah.
That's amazing.
So because that to me is more fun.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea of owning something that nobody else in the world has. So I'm presuming a lot of people still have Space Jam on VHS, but they don't have it displayed. Pride of place in their office. That is called Big Wangers Incorporated. Right next, what's it even next to?
It's next to the poster of...
my friend, yeah, with her tits out.
Tin of the dog food.
Yeah, tin of dog food, and my friend who does cosplay, dressed like Harley Quinn. Which, have you actually read the...
Yes, I have.
Yeah, do you want to tell me what it says?
It's something like the best big dick YouTuber.
People probably starting to notice a theme.
Like the biggest dick YouTuber or something like that.
Oh man, I laughed my ass off when I got handed that. So my friend, like, she does cosplay, and she said, "Oh, we're going to meet up. Is there anything you want?" I went, "Please find the worst photo you've ever taken and sign it for me, so I can frame it and put it on my wall." Yeah. And that's what she gave me. It's like
the worst photo.
Because it's the worst set she ever did. Because all she did was dye her hair and put a bra on. And fuck it, there's like a picture of her behind me now. Go, like, a link to like her social medias below me. I'm sure she'll appreciate this. Because I think we might as well tell this story. It's really funny. Where I think not recently, but like within like the last couple of months, she posted out a video of her in her underwear dabbing. Okay. Yeah, and like I told her to do that because it'd be so funny. Because I was on a really bad day, and she went, "What did she?" I went, "You need to dab." She was doing like a photo shoot at the time. Yeah. And I retweeted that saying I may have had something to do with this, and people don't believe me. People don't believe that I know this person. It's like, no, I do, because my life is weird and awesome, and I take life as it comes and live for, like, you know, the moment. When you live in the moment, that's the kind of thing you end up doing. But, oh, yeah, go follow them. I don't know how we went from Sonic to, you know, a girl in her underwear dabbing, but, again, live in the moment, interesting stuff happens.